That's the road program. We call it Patron. So all the roads that we did this year, Stevens, Shaker, Winkler. That's. Well, they've been paid all along. No, FTE, that's their last engineering, their engineering.
Is that it?
No, another one, we're close.
Every month you get
We're close.
20, 30.
We got one more, I think, and then that's it. We just got one for the final materials testing.
Okay.
Lori, you're good? You need water, you're good? Alan's got some there? Carly needs water? Okay.
What's that?
Let's do this, Chris.
Well, tell me.
Lots?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Question.
You guys close the door?
Yeah.
It works with my yankee. Okay. So, you know. Back to the has some value.
How you doing? Kim. Cause I'm the, I gotta get there, I got time, I know I was very hard.
Yeah.
Yes, I know, Lori told me, don't.
Yeah, it's supposed to come in there, I don't know. That paper you give me, that's what all we, I used to do, wasn't it? You did that paper kind of thing on one day.
Oh, that's a while ago, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, if you think that's good, if there's something else you need, let me know.
well, maybe I'll come down and talk about it.
Okay.
On, all right, yeah, maybe Tuesday. Well, I can, but I can wait. I can do that. It's already, it's ruined already.
Sorry.
No, it's.
Yes, we have to send it.
You just. How about you? Everything good?
Yes, yes. So you're still,
It will be the last time. Actually woke me up.
how's Curly?
It was terrible. She looked fantastic. Better than two.
This wasn't.
It was good. It was good.
How many minutes?
10. Okay, we're good. All right, we'll call this meeting order at 6:02, I guess, instead of 6 o'clock. Without over. Okay. I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Thank you, Councillor Sickle. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us right to delegations. We're going to invite Carly. Do we have a place? Oh, we got it. Okay, perfect. All right, welcome, Carly. I'm just going to turn it over to you, and Lori will. I know we've got a couple of slides. So we'll just turn it over to you. Welcome. And just take a look.
Thank you. Yes, Lori, do you mind?
Nice and loud.
Oh, sorry.
Just sorry. Yeah.
Yes, no,
Thank you.
Lori, would you like me to just direct your slides since I don't have a?
Yeah, so what I'm doing is projecting it here, but also then I'm hoping that people that are tuned in to watch are able to see. Sorry if I tapped something. I'm trying to watch it in a couple of different locations. You speak towards that little thing in the center as much as you can.
Perfect.
Just let me know when you want to make a switch.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Council, for having me here tonight to represent the library. As mentioned, I'm Carly. I'm the director at the library. It's lovely to see you all in person. Some of you for the first time ever. Thank you. And I'm very excited to update Council on library activities since July. We've been very busy. So on the next slide here, as you know, investing in the library is really investing in rural community resiliency. The library is often the only readily available source of comprehensive information needed by people for personal, family, and job-related purposes. And our library is really vital to the community as a public living room, a safe community space where everyone's welcome, regardless of age, politics, religion, or financial situation. So currently, the library has 2 committed caring staff members. We hope to be expanding that soon. And over 20 dedicated volunteers who are currently furloughed due to the pandemic, as well as of tonight, 8 lovely board members who volunteer their time to govern the library.
I'm just gonna make some more noise so this points towards you because it's currently pointing the other direction. Just ignore me. Once it comes over here, it should stay.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, carry on.
So anybody is welcome to browse our collection of over 18,000 items and over 3.2 million items available through our TrackPack online catalog. We provide free Wi-Fi, free computer access, and access to the internet, Microsoft Office Suite, and other software as well. And we offer printing and scanning services to the public as well. So on the next slide here, as a member of the Marigold Library System, the Hannah Library is really able to provide patrons with access to over 29 different online resources that are pictured on the slide. So everything from ebooks, audiobooks, newspapers, magazines, movies, music. Community members don't have to visit the library in person to access entertainment and learning materials, which has been particularly helpful during the pandemic. And on the next slide, you'll see some of our other partnerships that we have. So by sharing our space, our platform, and our people, we provide mutual support for a lot of our community's organizations, regularly partnering with McMahon Family Resource Network, J.C. Sherrick School, the Hannah Learning Center, Project Reach, the Hannah Museum, and Hannah FCSS. And in the past, we had very strong relationships with Project Kite and Golden Parade Parent Link, but those programs have recently lost funding, creating a bit of a gap in the community, as I'm sure you know. So the next slide here, the pandemic really changed the way everybody provides service. So we were closed from the public, closed to the public from March 15th till September 8th. But during that time, the library was far from quiet. We found really creative ways to support community members in their educational and entertainment needs, and we were one of the first libraries in the province to offer curbside pickup. So from May to September, we've scheduled over 440 curbside appointments. We've answered over 2,000 phone calls and had over 250 conversations through email and text, helping patrons with everything from requesting materials, registering them for a library card, helping them find information about relief programs and services online, and assisting with resource troubleshooting. We've also renewed over 414 library cards, and patrons continue to borrow and return materials at very high rates. Our board is always working to make the library more accessible to the community and has made library cards free to the community until the end of 2021. So I extend an invitation to council and everybody at the meeting today to please come register for a library card. If you don't already have one, you can chat with me directly, you can call the library or pop in, and we're happy to get you set up with that free membership. So on the next slide, during our closure, we also continue to offer programming, albeit in a little bit of a different way. So we offer programs to youth and families. All told, just over 250 people up till September through various formats like an online summer reading program, weekly take-home craft kits, story times in partnership with GBL. And this fall, we also restarted our popular book club. We've been hosting some art exhibits at the library, partnering with other community organizations to host weekend family events, and providing weekly book bins to J.C. Sherrick classrooms as part of our partnership to keep books in kids' hands during our limited hours of service that make it a little bit more challenging for those families to come into the library. So on the next slide, you'll just see some comments from patrons. Throughout the whole shutdown, folks were very quick to let us know that they value the library and they were very eager to be able to visit again. During this time, we really saw the impact the library has in the community. Lots of folks, stopping us in the grocery store, texting us, asking when can we come back in, when can we get those books. So I'm happy to say that as of November 2nd, we're open to the public on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 till 4, and we're available by phone and for curbside throughout the rest of the week as well. So on the next slide, I just want to highlight a couple of statistics from 2018, our last year with comprehensive stats. We had 51% of Hannah residents had a library card. We had over 2,700 individual visits. Every item in our collection was borrowed over 2 times. We had almost 3,000 program participants and over 17,000 individual Wi-Fi sessions as well at the library. On the next slide, the library works hard to make our dollars stretch and ensure that money is spent for greatest impact. So our financials are audited annually. The library board practices good financial planning, but the library has been operating in a deficit and we cannot sustainably continue in this way. So on the next slide there, the pandemic has shown us that the community really relies on the library, and it's also shown us where we can improve and build our capacity for excellent service. So as I mentioned, we reopened our doors in September at drastically reduced hours. This is due in part because libraries are not able to engage volunteers until phase 3 is announced by the province. And previously, the Hannah Library relied solely on a group of very dedicated volunteers to staff our front desk during our open hours. This is relatively unique and no longer the standard for libraries of and communities of our size. And that does impact our ability to be able to provide excellent service and access to the community during these ongoing uncertain times. So in September, even with our limited open hours, we averaged about 8.5 visitors to the library per open hour, and we saw an increase of 43% from September to October. So folks are wanting to access the library and they're wanting to access it more and more. So we see this as a wonderful opportunity for our library to meet the best practices provided by the Public Library Services branch to establish paid staff for core library work. So having some paid staff to assist patrons with things like reference questions, shelving books, accessing and editing patron records means that the library has staff who are able to receive ongoing training, be up to date on FOIP regulations, and keep the library open longer and consistently as the phases of the pandemic evolve. And of course, it means that we're then appropriately compensating our staff who's doing very skilled work and serving the community in wonderful ways. At its core, our staff and people working on behalf of the library are really our greatest champions, and they have the strongest positive impact on our community. Of course, our volunteers have always been the backbone of the library, and with the addition of paid staff, they'll still widely be utilized in tasks, projects, and fundraising without being asked to overstretch themselves and being able to return to the library once it's safe to do so again. They'd also have the opportunity to share their passions and donate their time to the library in ways that best meet their needs and the needs of the community as well. So thanks to your support, the support of special areas and the community, the library truly has immense potential with really deep community partnerships, newly renovated space, and strong relationships in order to help us step up and meet the demand of the community. So on the next slide here, just some information that was also included in your package. Town and Hannah residents currently make up 60% of our active card holders and 78% of our library circulation. And the town's ongoing and generous financial support of the library has really reflected this. We have recently approached special areas and asked them to consider the library an essential resource as well, and asked them to increase their annual funding in order to match town contributions. So we have asked them for an increase to $60,000 annually for the next 3 years to more accurately represent the level of use by special areas residents as well. So on the next slide, this year the Hannah Library is expected to run at a deficit of $13,811. And we are hopeful that special areas will recognize the importance of the library and increase their funding contributions, but we are working to find other revenue sources, including other grants that are currently available. On the next slide there. So again, we're working hard to find alternate forms of funding, but this uncertainty has had a serious impact on our ability to serve our community. The library is incredibly appreciative of the funding that council provides to the library, both directly and in kind, and we really could not serve the community without your support. Thank you. As town council begins budget discussions, I would like to ask council to consider, in addition to our annual COLA adjustments, a 5% increase in direct library funding for 2021, which would be an increase of just over $3,000 to account for increases in operating costs over the past several years. On the next slide. So with this modest increase in funding and increased support from special areas, the library would be able to expand our hours of operation, create paid positions for people doing library work, and provide wages closer in line with other Alberta libraries. We would also be able to provide more training to staff and board members and expand our programming to fill gaps in the community, particularly with isolated seniors and early literacy opportunities where there is currently a gap with the loss of funding for Kaituchi GPL. And of course, we would continue to offer safe community events during these isolating times. On the next slide, investing in the library is a smart use of taxpayer funds. For less than the cost of a hardcover book, we provide a wealth of reading material, a Netflix membership worth of movies and TV shows, magazines, newspaper subscriptions, just to name a few. And of course, every item that the library purchases belongs directly to the community. Our programs are inclusive, open to all, and free, and we provide lifelong learning opportunities. We offer community spaces to meet your neighbors and a platform to share your passions and talents with the community. We really exist to support the community in every level and variety of literacy. Next slide. Thank you very much for your time and consideration, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open up. Thank you so much. That's very, very informative. Any questions? Councilor Bowden?
Thank you very much, Carly.
Speak nice and loud. We want to do it.
That was long.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I'm just wondering, how long has the library been in a deficit?
The library's been in the deficit for the last 2 to 3 years.
And is it coming down?
Pardon?
And is the amount of the deficit coming down, like decreasing at all, or?
Yes.
So it was considerably more than 13,811 that you have now?
I'm sorry, the last part.
So it's considerably less than, or it was considerably more than what you have now with the 13,811?
The deficit was considerably more, is that your question?
Yes.
No, so the deficit has been sustainably low over the past 2 years, and the library does have some reserve funding that we've been able to pull from to meet that gap. But if we maintain that about $13,000 deficit annually ongoing in the picture, it will become unsustainable.
Yeah. Also, do you have plans for fundraising other
Yes.
than grants?
We do have plans for winter fundraisers, and we're currently looking forward to having 3 part-time staff coming on in the future, thanks to a grant, and their time and effort will also be put towards some more sustained fundraising efforts in the year.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
I have some, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Mr. Neal, speak up nice and loud, please.
I don't think that's a problem. So, all right, thank you for the presentation. It was good. In my time here, probably the best presentation we've had from the library in terms of information, so I appreciate that. Couple of questions. So you did address the fact that your budget does have a deficit, and I know has had deficits in previous years that fortunately the library board had some reserve funding that they're able to draw upon to continue to operate. I guess the biggest question I have is, it's a big increase for special areas. So you have a deficit of $13,000 right now, and I guess I'm just being devil's advocate. If special areas says, thank you, you're a great service, but we financially, aren't able to commit to the 60. That will, have you got any backup plans or plan B, I guess, if they say, sorry, we can only give you 20, that's a huge $40,000 gap in your operating. So I don't know if you have plan B or where you would go from there.
Yes, so that increase in funding would be primarily to be able to bring on paid staff to the library. And in the event that we don't receive that amount of funding, we would then continue to rely on the staff that we currently have, grant-funded staff positions where possible. And once phase 3 has been announced and we're able to bring back volunteers, we would, for a period of time, bring back our volunteers to help keep the library open once it's safe to do so.
Okay, no, great. It's good to have plan B because I know, and as you refer to, council's going into budget discussions next week, and times are tough. I know even with our partner, Special Areas is a great partner, always wanting to be involved, but I know they're facing challenges too that they haven't had to face in previous years. So they may have some additional obligations to meet to. The other thing, and just for council's info too, as Carly pointed out on the slide, we provide roughly $63,000 to the library board. We also provide, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but we provide the Marigold Library levy. We provide a $2 grant to the library board to help offset their portion of Marigold. And with the facility operation, the insurance, the utilities, the R&M, the town is putting in over $100,000 a year to the library. So I highly respect Special Areas, and they're great partners. But at the end of the day, I think the board maybe even let them off a little bit light because, trying to match our grant, we're also, paying some facility costs too. And I know if we get into the numbers, maybe their numbers aren't of members and their numbers of circulation aren't quite as high as ours, so maybe they don't need to pay the same equivalent. But I'm hoping Special Areas is able to find those funds in their budget. And I think it was great. I think this is also the first time we've had a budget from the library that we've got before we've gone into budget and able to deal with the library. I think in my last 7-8 years here, it's just been the standard. Here's what we gave you last year. Here's if there was a COLA adjustment, here we give you 1% more, or we give you 2% more, or whatever, and we move forward from there. So it was great information, and we'll certainly timely going into discussions with council next week. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else?
We will push to get his mind check card.
Yes, Councilor.
Is there any support from Starland?
No,
Like, as far as people coming in and using the library and that sort of thing?
so the way that public libraries are set up in this region, those communities that are in Starland County would directly support those libraries, and we have a relationship with all of the libraries in the Marigold region, which includes Starland County. So we don't receive money directly from Starland, but they would support other libraries in the region. And so when we have patrons who are wanting to borrow books at another library, things like that, we send that request off to those libraries in these communities, and they will send the resources to us. So we don't receive direct funds.
So you work together?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
I just was asking because our clinic gets support from users of Starland as well.
Okay.
Just wondering if that was an option.
Yeah, it's not an option in terms of the Marigold library system boundaries.
Well, Carly, thank you so much for taking time out on a blustery evening to enlighten us, and it was a great presentation as Tim alluded to. We appreciate it. So,
Thank you very much.
you're more than welcome to stay if you want. We have nothing better to do, but I'm sure Netflix is calling or something like that. So appreciate it, your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
I would entertain a motion. The council thanks Library Director Carly Engelstad for the information and statistics provided in the 2021 budget presentation for that Hannah Municipal Library. Thank you, Councilor Campion. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Public presentation. Yeah, I want to give us public presentation too. We have nobody else here to do that. Something random. Sorry, I wasn't meant to. I wasn't trying to do that.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thanks. Yeah.
Having a nice
You too.
See ya.
All right, that takes us to the meeting minutes. I would entertain a motion that the minutes of the organizational meeting of council held October 13th, 2020 be adopted as presented. Thank you, Councillor Olson. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? And that is carried. I would entertain a motion also that the minutes of the regular council meeting held October 13th, 2020 be adopted as presented. Thank you, Councillor Deadlock. Any questions, errors, or omissions? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? That is carried. And that finally takes us to a motion that the minutes of the information meeting of council held October 28th, 2020 be adopted as presented. Thank you, Councillor Jensen. Questions, errors, or omissions? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, bear with me. I've got to do advice. You know, I must be getting old because change is really, man, it's hard to do. Anyway, item 6.1, accounts payable. I would entertain a motion that council accepts the account payable check listings for general account checks 41224 to 41303, and this is new, the direct deposit payments of I'm not saying the zeros, to 8 for information. Thank you, Councillor Campion. Any questions regarding the accounts payable?
So just to comment, Mr. Mayor, he did, Mr. Mayor alluded to the fact the direct deposit. So we are moving forward with electronic funds transfers now. A lot of our vendors are set up for that and would like that. So I think the next statement or the next accounts payable you'll get might look a little bit different still. We're trying to figure out how that works, but you can see we did try a number of them as a test last time, and it worked very well. And we've got a lot of interest from our vendors who would like to receive payments that way. So yeah, no, it's way in the future. So
Yep. Okay, no questions, then I'll call a question. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us to 6.2, statement of revenue and expenses. I would entertain a motion the council accepts the statement of revenue and expenses report for October 2020 for information. Councilor Sickle, thank you. Any questions regarding the statement of revenue and expenses? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? That is carried, and that takes us to 6.3. I would entertain a motion. This is budget overview. I would entertain a motion the council accepts the budget overview for October 2020 for information. Thank you, Councilor Deadlock. Any questions regarding the budget overview? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Committee reports. We do have one committee report, 7.1, from the Community Services Board. I would entertain a motion that council accepts the Community Services Board meeting minutes for October 19th, 2020 for information. Thank you, Councilor Campion. Sorry, Councilor Jensen. Any questions regarding or anything to highlight out of the meeting of the Community Services Board? Yes, want to go home, I say. All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, takes us to senior administrative officials report. Mr. Neal, we will turn the floor over to you for your chief administrative officer report. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can see, our focus has been on the budget, so we are continuing to work on that in preparation of next week's meeting. Just as a reminder for council, so there won't be any homework prior to our meeting on Wednesday.
That's what you think.
Okay, well, we will be giving you the budget information in a binder form on the 18th. And the expectation that day is that we'll go through, administratively go through some of the highlights, changes, what's in there, what's not in there, implications. And then council will obviously take the documents home, have a chance to read through them in preparation for the next meeting, and an opportunity to ask clarification questions, all those sorts of good things. So we are working through that process as we speak. The other thing, just as a heads up for the 18th, I haven't got all the details, but it sounds like AUMA has set up a town hall that day, I believe at 4 o'clock, with Minister of Municipal Affairs, Premier Kenny, and I think Chief Medical Officer of Health, I believe. They haven't had a town hall for quite some time. So what my thought is we would, conclude the meeting by that time. My goal at the fire hall is to have it set up so that we can have it on a conference call or Skype or whatever. I don't even know what form they're going to use for their town hall, and then everyone can be there and listen. If you can't stay longer, that's fine. But I just thought it would probably be worthwhile to make sure we were able to hear any of the discussion, especially if there's any updates from the Premier or the Minister of Municipal Affairs. So that's happening there. Other than that, Mr. Mayor, I know it gets monotonous on the community generation capacity building. We did meet again last week. The developer at Sheerness site, a company called Pace, is moving forward with their project out there. They have a 13 megawatt project that they got the application into the Alberta Electrical System Operator. They are currently reviewing the lease agreements with Westmoreland and Prairie Mines to lease the lands to put the solar project on. And it won't have any involvement from us. It won't be a project we're involved in, but it will be, if they're able to move forward, it is a $25 million project. It will employ a number of people in the construction phase, and it will operate in it will only have 1 or 2, probably max, as far as the operations. But they are very high on moving that forward, and in discussions with them, they say that the solar right now is just flying. They can't keep up to it. The demand from corporations who are asking for power purchase contracts never stops. Corporations want the social license, they want that ability, so they're putting out RFPs to solar developers to say, we want to purchase power from you. What kind of power can you provide us at what price for 25 years? And they're having he said that the technology's going up and the cost is going down. They feel they're competitive in pricing with any type of generated power, excluding hydro. So any coal, natural gas, any of that, they feel they're now down in that price range. So lots happening there. We still are working with them and through them, and this will be where it comes back to council on their table, is they are working through business cases for, they call it a virtual power plant for the town of Hannah facilities. So they would look at if there's space. I know we gave a lot of space up at our public works for the millings, but if there's space to put solar there, if there's space to put some solar by the arena, and they will feed that into one power plant and be able to, they would probably operate the system themselves, own it and operate it, but they would have a power purchase agreement with us at our price, which they say will be less than what we will pay on the open market. So still working through that whole business case there, and there's a few more steps there before we get too far, but it's moving forward. I think they're hoping In a perfect world, to do a presentation at the Special Areas Advisory Board, Advisory Council meetings in December, just as an update. It certainly, the Westmoreland Sheerness project will be a bonus for special areas because they will get the tax revenue generated off of that $25 million development. It will help Westmoreland with some lease payments. So I think that there's some promising there, whether you're a fan of solar or not. All indications to me is it's not going away. Solar's going to continue to be more prevalent as we move forward. And I think that combined with their technologies on battery storage and stuff like that, I think we're going to see a big difference in power generation, over the next 5 or 10 years. So I think that's it, Mr. Mayor. If there's any questions, yeah, please answer them.
And what time did you say that the meeting was?
I believe it's 4 o'clock or 4:30 on the 18th. It's the day we have our budget meeting, Council Champion, so.
Because I missed the time.
Yeah.
Any further questions?
Do they have a time frame that they're looking at to try and get shovels in the ground to get some of these?
On the Sheerness project, I think they're a little optimistic, but on the Sheerness project, last week when we talked, they said if everything went according to plan through the final environmental stages, through the ASO process, through the special areas development process, they felt that they could be in construction in spring of 21 and in service completed by the end of 21. So it seemed optimistic to me, but I'm not certainly no expert in that. So.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councilor Stickle.
How's the GFL fertilizer blending project coming, or have you?
Well, I've had some calls and some discussions as recent as 10 days ago. They're working through their environmental process, environmental permitting. They needed something from me for their environmental permitting because on the public engagement side. So we talked a little bit about public engagement, how that could happen, what type of format we could use. I did use the example that IncineraTech used as an example. I also said we're probably in a little bit better situation out here, safe-wise and COVID-wise, that they could probably set up an open house in this building, for example, and say we'll accept up to 20 people for our 3 o'clock, for our 5 o'clock, for our 7 o'clock, and then people could call and make a reservation. You wouldn't want, and not that I think we're gonna get hundreds of people here, but you wouldn't want everybody showing up and have to say, sorry, due to COVID, we can only have so many people in the building. So they were keen on that. They certainly had no issues. We haven't set any dates or had any discussion in regards to that. I have told them, and I did tell them in my last conversation, that council will not move forward without public engagement. Council, and I did say to them, we need something formal from them, whether it's a memorandum of understanding, whether it's a memorandum of agreement, before we invest too much time in this process. Because one of the things that will happen, which will involve public input, will be that land will have to be rezoned. It's currently zoned highway commercial. So if they're putting in a fertilizer blending compound, it would have to be probably rezoned to industrial, which is a process where council will have to give first reading to a bylaw. It will have to have a public hearing being set and advertised for people to voice any concerns, either in support or against, before council gives its second and third reading. So I said, there's a process there, there's a cost there, and not that I don't trust them on their word, but I said we need to have a memorandum of understanding saying, this is what we will be doing, this is what we expect the town to do, and this is what the process will be. And they said they would get something put together, and I haven't seen that yet, so.
They're not giving us no rent or anything on it.
Right now, there's, right now,
I think we should put a for sale sign up.
certainly is an option. We have no commitment to them in one form or another, and I have mentioned this to a few councillors randomly. Not that I want to turn business away, but in a perfect scheme of things, that may not be the best location, the best business that would go there, but it's a tough call because if you say, no, we don't want that there, and that land sits there for 20 years with nothing on it, you look pretty stupid. But if you didn't do anything with it, in 2 years, 3 years, who knows, that somebody came by and said, I want to put a gas station, convenience center, I want to put a hotel, whatever out there, you go, geez, it would be nice to have that space for that. So I haven't been actively chasing them, saying, where are you at, what are we gonna do? Because in my mind, it's not the perfect solution for that property, but I put the ball back in their court and said, we're here, we're willing to talk, we're willing to move it forward, but the ball's in your court.
Maybe we can make that dog park out there. What the brothers are
I
on?
thought there was some, I thought you were in support of that site at one time, and so I'm just wondering what changed.
Well, I don't want the impression that I'm not in support of that site. It's just, in a perfect world, if I had a crystal ball, there probably would be, it was more suited, and I think we all would agree it would look better, and it would be more suited if there was a new hotel out there, a new gas station,
Well, yeah.
convenience store.
There's more land out there too. Only
But they're
privately
looking to
owned.
lease it all out, Councilor Boone, so, and use it. So, like I said, in a perfect world, it's a proposal that's come to us. We have to move forward with that proposal. But I said, I think I'd be more excited if it was a new hotel, and I would think council would be if it was a new hotel or a new convenience store. But we don't know if that's gonna happen. And if we don't work with them to try and move it forward, nothing may happen on that site for 20 years, and we don't look stupid. So, it's not the ideal site for it, in my opinion, but it's adequate.
Well, and berms work quite well, I think, to hide
Yeah.
certain.
I mean, we've discussed this before.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to get into details. Honestly, we've discussed this. So I think-
Yeah, no, so it's still moving forward. I have put the ball back in their court to put together a memorandum of understanding that I can bring to council and say, this outlines our relationship and how we want to move forward.
Okay, any further questions for Mr. Neal? Okay, thank you for that. That takes us to Director of Business Communications, Director Armstrong.
I have a few things going on over here right now.
Little louder.
I have
Okay.
a few things going on over here right now. That was for David's benefit. I've got David watching through Zoom and YouTube. We're doing some experimenting here, as you've been able to see. Not as many people watching as maybe in the past, so it's a good thing to experiment. Anyways, I don't have anything to add to my report specific to the meeting. I just wanted to draw attention to the equipment in the middle of the room. It is a camera and it is a microphone that we borrowed for this evening from the fire hall. Just to test it out. If we're looking at live streaming as a way of the future, we don't have anything that's suitable, and even this isn't suitable for this room. But it is much better than what we were trying to do in the past. So, yeah, just
So Lori, did you want to touch a little bit on your HANA TV and your live streaming right now? Is that just so council's aware?
in terms of,
Are we
are we live right now?
Yes.
We are. We
Okay.
are live right now, yes. And, my plan or my hope is that we will have a spot on our site, on our website. It'll be like canada.ca/TV. And then that's where people can go to watch these events as they're happening live. It was something that I worked extensively with volunteers representing the Legion with their Remembrance Day ceremony. I was picking my words carefully there because not necessarily Legion members. You know, in the hopes that we'll provide a venue for them to be able to live stream the service. People would know they could go to canada.ca/TV and see what's happening at the time. Great ideas are great, but none of us have done it before, so, and we don't have to do it. So we're backing off from big things like that and starting small with little things like this. The intent will be that that'll hopefully be how we do the budget meetings, and if there's other things like that that need to be public, that we can constrain them. Of course, there's going to be issues with all events, depending how it's streamed. If it's streamed, it's YouTube, it's one way. It's Zoom, that you can get feedback, but you can't always do both successfully at the same time.
So, Mr. Mayor, we will be using this device at our budget meeting in the fire hall, and it works much better there because you're smaller and you're tighter. So we will be doing our budget meetings, fire hall. We will be using that. It will be on Zoom so people can listen in. We could potentially be on Hannah TV live streaming while we're doing our budget at the same time. So that's kind of an example of what
this is
public will be
exactly
seeing.
what people are seeing right now that are watching us on YouTube. And if it tends to respond to men's voices better, which makes no sense because men can usually project way better than women. But if I put on my throaty, sexy voice, the screen might split in two if I speak right to the thing and show or come towards me. No, it likes those antlers. It just keeps going that direction all day. We've been testing. Anyways, I know David's chuckling at home right now, listening
There we
to make a fool of myself, but yeah, so there it's split. This is what people are watching. It's just kind of an experiment, but it's something to.
Yeah, because of the size of room that we're at, it's not functioning as well as it could.
It's probably the high ceiling.
And it is not my area at all, you know, what it's like to have to learn something new.
Cool technology.
Yeah. I was going to bring a copy of our latest newsletter for each of you this evening, and I forgot. So it will show up in your mailbox, or you can get to it on the website as usual, canada.ca/news. It's a little bit of a longer one. I just wanted to, I think I made it fairly clear in my report. I had Rhonda review it because I threw it together very quickly, but it is a very, very time-consuming thing. So we just kind of want to I would like to try to reach the people that we think we're doing it for, and that's the ones that aren't into the electronic media, email and Facebook and all that. Yeah.
So we are looking, Mr. Mayor, and you know, Lori throws ideas out to me, and I'm sometimes the bad guy, but her idea was, let's just not do a newsletter. See if anybody notices. I'm like, well, we should have that discussion with council first, but it is something we're trying to.
You'll get feedback.
Well, we're trying to. I don't know
Well,
if
because
you
we don't
guys
get any
here.
feedback right now, so
I
it's
do.
hard to know.
I actually do. I get lots of people in the store actually.
The feedback we get is people coming to the counter with their envelope in their hand, pull out their bill, pay it, and then leave everything behind.
Right, yeah, and I know, yeah. I mean, it's no different than me when I go to the mail and I see, oh, I'm under fires and garbage. I go, what the hell am I doing this for? But no, I think the people it reaches, I think they care about it.
Well, and if it's not there, they think you're hiding something.
Could
No,
be, yeah.
I would
They're
never
gonna jump on it
suggest
right
that
away.
we not communicate in some format. I just don't know that the time spent doing it.
Right,
is
yeah, I understand what you're
other
saying,
ways,
yeah. I think, like the amount of comments I get in the store, and it's an older demographic, no doubt about it,
Yeah.
but But yeah, I think really good comments on it. So, sorry,
It's all good.
Yeah, I know, I like it.
you can bring it up again and
That's what people like.
2022.
bring it up again. No, in a year from now, you can bring it up again.
Well, just as a heads up, you may see it out there. There is a little thing in the newsletter that says, if you read this and you appreciate it, let us know.
Okay, yeah.
And we will be doing maybe some Facebook polls and for what it's worth, I know it's Facebook, that's not the demographic
Right.
that we're going after with the newsletter, so it's not like it's an official thing, it's just a conversation starter.
Okay, good. Thank you. Good work. Awesome. That takes us to 8.3, Director of Community Services, Director Snell.
Thank you. And work, members of council. Just like to add, not included in my report was the community Christmas dinner. I don't believe I highlighted that, and that was hot off the press. Karen Miller is still taking the lead on that, and she's done some promotion. It's included in the newsletter coming out. What's different this year is there won't be a sit-down meal. It'll be delivery or curbside pickup. So glad that she's continuing that. I think it's well needed, and she is doing an actual invitation in the mailbox. She went to the Hannah Learning Center. They indicated they would assist her with invites. People are to get back to the town office, Hannah Learning Center, or Karen Miller. So it's nice to see that tradition continue. I think someone said they were going to miss Christmas this year, and Karen Miller said, nobody misses Christmas in Hannah. I will make sure it still happens. So she's very committed. I think it's 14 years this year. So it's a good program, and we certainly support her in that. We did have absolutely no applications to our Community Services Board application grant process. And I really think that's a reflection of the fact that we were missing our spring registration and our fall registration. Usually it gives us a chance to speak to the groups one-on-one. And there's been some interest since we indicated we would extend it. So it probably won't be in time for council's December meeting. We may have to wait to do that presentation until January, but we have got the call out, and we'll connect up with groups and see if we can't get some applications in. People are looking for those funds, aren't able to do the fundraisers, but just weren't aware of the grant, I think. So other than that, if there's any other questions about the department or the
Questions?
The grant was 2,500, is it not?
Actually, Councillor Campion, we bumped it up to $3,000.
3,000?
So there's $3,000 available. And that can be sliced into 4 or 5, but we've got $3,000 as a lump sum.
Yeah, let it be a group swing today. But it hadn't been applied for in up there, so. The lines.
Councilor Olsen, you have a question?
I've been asked to mention a couple of things to you, Glenn. For the arena, showers is still another thing. I know I've brought it up before to you. The people at the arena would like to use the showers. I understand that they're not able to be used yet with the return to play.
No, that was changed, council.
Okay, cool.
So we did a upgrade to our COVID policies based on our soft reopening, and we have actually extended the time for minor hockey. When we opened, it was 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after. We sort of played that through. They had groups of 10 that could be in each dressing room. The teams are cohort. We talked with minor hockey and said, the teams are cohort, let's have the team use the dressing room. We'll go to the half an hour before and half an hour after. That'll give you time to, some of the younger ones that were having trouble hopping getting the skates on. And so we did that. Now that they're using the one dressing room per team, that lets us clean the dressing rooms in between as well. And we did indicate that we would do limited shower use. So that's open, has been since the first part of November, that first week. We recognized when they started games, that was going to be the request for the showers at that time. So that, we've been working with minor hockey on that. We're adhering to the provincial government of 100 spectators for the arena. But minor hockey, we respect their guidelines. They want to have by invitation only because they're controlling the crowds coming in. And we certainly appreciate their efforts in keeping our facilities safe. So we're working with them every step of the way. So.
Also, question with Centennial Place with dance, are they the only tenant doing temperatures in all town facilities?
No, we have, I believe, I could be incorrect, but I believe that Kitty's Corner opted to do that.
Okay.
And actually Boredom Busters, any of the town programs, we take temperatures of the kids when they come in. The school division opted, I believe, it's my understanding, they opted to advise parents to take temperatures at home, and if the child has a temperature, to keep them at home. That may or may not happen in some households. Lots of programs across the province have said, we'll just take the temperature when they come to the program. And so Hannah Dance has approached us. They gave us their return to play, and when I talk about working with each group, Hannah Dance came to us with their return to play. They've since contacted me within the last week and said, we'd like to change part of our return to play, and what do you think about this? And I'm like, that's reasonable. If you want to go ahead, just revise your return to play, provide it to me so I can keep the staff up to date about what your return to play is, and then go forward. They did ask about temperature taking, and I just cautioned them that we're fine here in Hannah. We feel fairly comfortable with our low numbers, but given what's happening in the province, they might want to keep that in consideration. And also, you don't really know what your membership likes. Some people actually aren't vocal about the extra measures that are being taken, but they like them. They like them because they feel safer with their family and their children participating. So I said that might be a thing to consider too. If it's not difficult to do, and it's hopefully for a limited time, they may wish to continue, but
Yeah, I think every group starts strong and then that's the point.
yeah.
I think if I could count, or I guess, the bottom line there, I think, and Gwen can correct me if I'm wrong, is if Hannah Dance came to us and said, we are not going to do temperature checks anymore, we're not going to say you have to.
No.
That will be their decision as an organization to make.
Yes, and I didn't say no to them when they contacted me. I said, your call, just consider these things and provide us with your return to play.
And we're going through a little bit of that. Again, curling's been in second week. Last week was the first time for people to get into the facility and curl. And I know one of the things that they had done was, as a recommendation from Curling Alberta was to take the benches out on the ice surface. Well, we've got seniors, we've got people. So on our benches were not good benches anyways. They were carpet probably from 1980. Can't be sanitized. So now in discussions with some of the seniors are calling and saying, well, if we take the carpet off and we put a hard top on it so it can be disinfected after each use, are you okay with it? And I said, the town would be fine with that, but the curling club has to make that decision. And I know the caretaker was concerned he couldn't disinfect that. And again, the more duties you put on the caretaker to disinfect, there's benches probably, or what, pardon me?
Don't disinfect.
Well,
but
that's where you're at, so.
It's ridiculous, because now you're having people congregate at one end or the other. Everybody's at one end.
Right now, yes.
You're not like offering a chance to social distance.
Yeah.
By not having those benches in there.
Yeah, so they're looking at as volunteers taking the carpet off, putting a hard surface on, and we'll put it back in play, and then they will be disinfected. During the week, it's not an issue. There's seniors on Monday, like one league kind of thing, so there's not multiple users. I'm not sure what they would do Bonspiel wise, or they'll just say use at your own risk. So there's always things as we get into facilities, questions that come up, and we deal with them as they come up, so.
That's it.
Any further questions? Yes, Councilor Gould.
In your report, you mentioned the dog park. Have you found any information, or?
We're still discussing it at the Community Services Board level, and we're not, got other things on our plate right now. It hasn't been a high priority, but we talked about doing a social engagement process, and that'll be something I'll work with Lori and go do an electronic, some sort of a social engagement. So that's down the road plans where department's been a little busier than usual, so.
how many people are asking about wanting a dog park?
It's not a high percentage, but sometimes it's people are thinking about it and they don't say anything. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to do some public engagement, see what the interest is or what the discussion is, and then we'll bring that back. We'll discuss it at the board level and bring it back to council. So we want to strategize it out in terms of doing it in a proper sequence and have some organization to it when we roll it out, so that what we bring forward is of merit and value.
Yeah, I don't believe, unless council's getting any questions or comments about it, it's not that we get an overabundance of them, it's just, you know, I've been here for 8 years and probably 3 or 4 times it's kind of raised its head with people questioning, can we have one? What do we need to do to have one? And again, when I say people, 1 or 2 people, I think we find it generally, it's from people who have moved here, who have been in a community that had one, that they were supportive of it and wanted it and wish they had one here. Like I said before, we have a lot of informal off-leash park areas in town that for the most part work okay. The only thing by making them informal is if somebody really wanted to be technical, we're allowing people to, you know, violate our off-leash bylaw because they're not designated areas. So it's not a high amount, and I guess we just kind of want to see where people are at, see what options might be out there for land to actually do it. I know I've had some calls from the golf course before, and people not happy with people in the winter time using the golf course as their off-leash area because they find the remnants of it in spring. And in summer they don't because it's used and there's people on there, but in the winter it's a wide open space. We go out there and do that. Again, very minor, but it is happening. So Fox Lake Park is an excellent example.
All right, that's good. They'll continue to work on it. Any further questions? Okay, thank you, Director Snell. That takes us to item 8.4, Director of Protective Services, Director Moll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My department has remained quite quiet since council last met. Things have slowed down. As far as development is concerned, we saw a little bit of a flurry before freeze up with quite a few applications coming in, and I would say a good percentage of those were home-based occupation development permits. So that seems to be, has been steady all year with home occupation applications, which probably is an indication of the economic times that we're going through. So, but other than that, I don't have anything else to add to my report.
Okay. Is there any questions for Director Moll? Just that thorough, I guess. Eh? Awesome. Thank you for that. That takes us to, last but of course not least, Director of Public Works, Director Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing further to add to my report, other than the snows.
Yeah, so are you gonna jump on the grader as soon as you leave here tonight?
I might tomorrow, if it keeps going, I might have to, yeah.
Any questions for Director Olson?
So just a comment for tomorrow, it's Remembrance Day. Talked with Brent earlier, so our on-call public works person is going to go out early and clean off all the sidewalks in the downtown area so that they're clean and fresh. The road's going to be as good as it can. We cleaned it yesterday, so hopefully we don't get a lot of accumulation overnight, and it will be slippery though because I think it's wet coming down. So it's a strange snow because we didn't get a ton of snow, but just the way the wind blew and caught, our guys have been mostly doing drifts and cleaning out drift areas and hauling away. So I think we're getting caught up there, but just so you know, tomorrow we're going to do our best to have the sidewalks all cleaned up and ready to go for people down in that intersection. So.
Yes.
I just like to thank for the work that they've done to clear things off and keep things moving. So I think that's been greatly appreciated, and I don't think people stop and compliment staff very often. So I am doing that.
No, snow removal is a hot topic and certainly people appreciate it. We don't probably hear as much as we should, but I think we do a reasonable job and I think most people appreciate that, so.
Never gets done quick enough.
No.
And there is the odd person that helps us out and causes damage and we get blamed, but we figured that out a little bit. We did have a water leak in the parking lot of the arena. On Monday, it came up, of course, when we started. So we did call Brooks to come and give us a hand, and it turned out to be another Hymax coupler, which is very unusual. This time it was right in the middle of it, and it was the tie-in for the new community services building is where it was leaking. So that was 2013.
12, yeah, the time might have been
2011.
11 or 12.
So it's all, I mean, brand new valves, so we were able to isolate it once we found it, but it's a little weird, but it's fixed and we use the millings and pack it in there, so we'll see how it holds up.
The other thing, and Brett mentioned his report, so we did rent a screener. I think we put some millings out in some alleys originally. We were not happy with them because there was quite a few chunks in them. So to make that product usable, we did rent a screener, screened about 500 yards of it in a week. We are looking potentially, see how budget goes at buying our own screener to be able to do that, because we think the material is good and will work well. It's just we have to make sure we get it all screened and get the big chunks out. And we can take the big chunks and put it in our crush pile and we can get that crushed again. So we will use it. Special Areas is having, I think, the same issue with their stuff when they went to use it. They were, I think, a little surprised that there was some bigger chunks in it. So they're using a slightly different process, but they were over last week to look at what we were doing and like the product that we had once we screened it. So I think it's going to be valuable material.
So we basically screened it to 3/4 inch. We could have got a bigger screen, 1.25 inches would be okay. But by we rented the unit, cost us $1,600 for the week. And talking with Special Areas and another gentleman that was out, it's roughly anywhere from $30 to $40 a yard or tone. So we actually ended up with 500 yards. We made roughly $13,000, $14,000 worth of material. So for $1,600 for the week, that was profitable for us.
Can you add oil and heat to that stuff to make something?
You can actually concert, Owen, Francis, and all the guys met out at our area when they were looking at the screener. There is a machine, concert bought it, we all demoed it, where it actually will reheat and you can add oil to it, but it's a long process. It takes a lot of man hours to do. But Owen is also looking down in Youngstown, they used a milling machine of their own, and they have a material where they're looking at different kinds of oil to put with it, to blend it, and then lay it out and see how it works. We did have discussions with them about South Municipal Road. So Owen said, we can keep trying what we're trying, they're gonna try what they're trying, and in the spring we'll put our heads together, and hopefully we can come up with something that's really gonna work for everybody. So there is that option, for sure.
Brent, any idea what the screener cost? Is there a chance maybe that we could partner with Special Areas to buy it?
We were looking at that, we've talked to, there is, the screener that we used is a skid steer screener. So we were able to use our loader and it's around 8,400 to 8,500. There is the next size screener, which is for our loader, so 2.5 yard bucket. It's around 15,900. If we would have had that, we would have doubled our production. Because bucket for bucket, we'd had over 1,000 yards there. So Owen did mention that, and he does know where we have it. But like they said, budget talks, let's just keep our heads together, we'll try it and see how it works. And we'll look at, they might even buy their own screener if it works, that's government. They might buy a different one with belt stackers. And, they just wanted to look at our product. So before we purchase anything, we definitely will talk to them. But as far as for the town of Hannah, we have our own millings at the ATCO camp that came off of Second Ave. And sand and our topsoil, we've been redoing our sod off of boulevards and stuff. So it definitely, and it's all 110, you just plug it in and you don't need anything extra, it moves with the loader forks. So for 15.9 or 16, it probably would be worth it. But yeah, Owen definitely said, talk to them, they were just throwing things out, so.
We'll let them buy it, we'll borrow it.
Well, we're gonna try this concert thing out together too. So.
I'm sure I had a lot of people in the store asking, what are you doing on all that stuff, all that material? We'll use it eventually.
The best example, I think, of the product that we've got after we screened was on Shaker Alley, if you had a chance to go up there and drive on it, so. Not now, it maybe not be as apparent.
All right, no other questions? Then I will call a question. Any motion that council accepts the senior administrative officials reports 8.01 to 8.05 as presented for information. Thank you, Councilor Deadlock. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us to some business items. Item 9.1, I would entertain the motion that council accept the notice from the Handy Young Lions Club to terminate the lease agreement between the town and the club for a portion of the building at 201 First Avenue East, and further that council waive the 6-month termination clause subject to the club turning over the facility improvements and fixtures to the town of Panama at no cost, as outlined in the letter dated October 15, 2020, from the Handy Young Lions Club. You want to second? Okay. Thank you, Councilor Olson. You want to speak to that first, or you want to
Sure, Mr. Mayor. It's pretty clear. Unfortunately, as a club, they made a decision to dissolve. Their rent over the past number of years, I think since 2011, has basically covered the operating costs of that portion. In the interim, we will continue to operate it in the same fashion as a rental facility, but we're certainly open if any other options come our way for that space. Certainly would consider them amongst it. The rental business has been very poor through COVID, to say the least. Hopefully, once we get through COVID, they'll pick up in this facility and the Lions Club facility. It's a nice space for a smaller space, and there's a need for that. So they've turned everything over to us, all the appliances they bought, all the tables, chairs, everything that's in there. So I haven't been in it. I don't know if anybody's been in it since they did their cleanup on Saturday, but we're gonna, and we'll talk a little bit about it at budget time. We're gonna budget pretty similar to what we did before, but we won't have that guaranteed $4,800 coming in from them at $400 a month, but some months, if it's busy, once COVID's done, we might have more coming in. We don't know until we've run through it for a year, but sad that they're had to dissolve, but unfortunately that appears to be the trend with service clubs, worldwide, so.
I had a call from the regional director, or whatever it was, back in maybe July or August, and wanted the time to help him. I said, do what? And he said, well, recruit. I said, we have no problem with just our boards and stuff like that. I said, no, I said, the problem is you got so many of them, you got the Kingsman, the K40s and everything else, and I said, they're all hurt. And I said, there's only so many people going around. So I said, no, sorry that I haven't come and present to council. I don't think that's something that we should be in the business of doing, but yeah, just interesting. And I think it's just the way it is. That's the way it will now. So, any further questions, comments on this motion?
So will you add it then to your, list it as a rental site?
Yes.
On the website
Yeah.
or something, saying that it is available in cost, so that
Yeah.
people are aware that it is available.
Yeah, and I'm sure our media will do a story on it. So public will keep learn about it. We're, at this point in time, just gonna incorporate the same rates they were charging, and move forward, and we'll evaluate that as we progress through it, so.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes the second half. I would also entertain a motion that council acknowledged with regret the dissolution of the Anion Lions Club and express their gratitude to the members past and present for their many contributions to quality of life in our community. Councillor Stickle, thank you. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us to 9.2, which is the Hannah Library Board appointment. It's good to see. Speaking of recruiting, I would entertain a motion that council approves the appointment of Paulette Murray as a member of the Hannah Municipal Library Board for a 3-year term ending October 31st, 2023. Thank you, Councillor Deadlock. I don't think this needs any discussion, does it? No? Okay, good, thank you. All in favor? That is carried. And that takes us obviously to 9.3, 2020 infrastructure project's final report. I would entertain a motion that council accepts the 2020 infrastructure project final report for information and direct administration to fund the shortfall in the amount of $10,571, sorry, from the 2020 MSI capital funding allocation. Councillor Jensen, thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to wrap it all up. This was probably, I'm guessing, close to a record year, if not a record year.
Biggest check I signed.
For infrastructure, core infrastructure in 1 year, spending approximately $2 million. So things changed as we went through the year, but at the end of the day, we deferred the overlay on Winkler, and we picked up some frost boils, and we picked up some additional costs in terms of fill material, and came out at the other end with just, I guess, a deficit of $10,000, which on $2 million I think is pretty good. So I just wanted council to be aware where that's at, and so far so good.
Ruined traffic, Mark. That's true.
So if there's any questions that anybody has in regards to the project, I just wanted to kind of wrap it up so you know where we ended up, how things went. I think to date we're pleased with the work that's been done. We'll certainly evaluate it in the spring and see, road-wise, whether we have any concerns. They finally did get back to patch a couple of spots on Stevens where we'd asked them to redo the sidewalk, and got that completed. So I think, I believe all the irrigation heads that were damaged through the project have been replaced and fixed. I appreciate they hired local, Mr. Becky, to come back and fix all of that. So Dave's very good at what he does, so hopefully everything works when they use their irrigation systems again. So I just wanted to kind of wrap it up. It was a $2 million project, or in excess of $2 million, and where it ended up, happy at the end of the day. So
Did they do the repairs to the one that Jimmy said? You were telling me one day that they cut one corner of something sharp or something.
So the truckers had cut sharp, correct, Brent?
Yeah.
So I haven't got out and looked at the culvert. It's still
No, the culvert's okay.
okay.
We just put the barricades up to prevent that. We could take them down. The traffic's not as busy on there. The truck's in there now.
They're still parking on the other road.
Yep. They still are. And I don't know if we put a sign to say truck parking or Tim's parking, or I realize it's a road, but I don't know if people know they're allowed to park there. We took the no parking sign away. We pulled that out.
By a record only,
What's that?
by a record only. Charging big time for when they go to recover.
Wouldn't hurt to have, it almost be nice to have Tim's actually put a sign out that said truck parking
tier through trucking or parking or something.
Anyway,
Yeah, they're the ones who did, probably.
yeah, I got to finally, I got to sign a seven-digit check. I tried to entice Mr. Neal to split it, but he didn't. So, good on him, he's doing a good job. Okay, with that, I'll call the question, all in favor? That is carried.
Mr. Mayor, just as an aside to that, just remembered, so we did receive our municipal stimulus grant, so we've been approved. We got the check or the electronic deposit Monday. So that was the stimulus, $304,000, and we also got our COVID assistance funding in the amount of $264,000. It was deposited as well on Monday, so
That's good.
nice to see
Well, good.
those
We
funds
spent the
come
money,
through. Yeah, we spent the money, so.
That's good, awesome, thank you. Bylaw, we don't have any bylaw amendments or anything, so it takes us to council roundtable and reports. Let's start with Councilor Campion. I'd like to put you on the spot, I haven't done that for a while.
I don't know where, like, yeah, I filed one.
Where you been?
I don't think I had anything to report, just, I did put in there that we are having our RSP meeting thing in Recruiter on Wednesday.
Tuesday.
In the evening, or Tuesday, yeah, Tuesday evening. And I got the budget, and I got a Red Deer River meeting on Thursday, busy week next week, so.
So Councilor Campion, question, you guys have got your waste commission date set, right? What would be in December?
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about it during budget, but we're kind of going in a little bit blind with Big Country Waste, whether there's going to be an increase, same, decrease. I don't know if you guys have had any discussions about where the requisition is going to be for 2021.
I told him no damn way he's raising us.
So, and what we generally do, if the requisition is increased, we increase the regional waste fee charge to the utility to capture that. So it won't affect our taxation, but again, there's one taxpayer, whether they're paying taxes or a utility bill, it's still coming out. So the sooner you guys know, Council Campion.
I really don't know which one, but we did discuss it a couple weeks ago, and we are buying some equipment. We're going through the Alberta government thing to buy that and everything, but we have no intention of raising the requisitions because of some of the impact, like cereal, now holding specialists getting stuck holding the bag there and everything. And I don't know what's gonna happen there, whether we lose a commission member or what's gonna happen.
Okay,
What they're gonna do, whether they're gonna assign somebody or what, but from what Sean and I discussed, there was no increase that I know, so.
Okay, just
But I will get
curious.
a hold of
Yeah,
them as soon as possible.
yeah, as soon as you know,
Yeah.
you know.
I'll let you know that.
Any questions for Councilor Campion? All right, thank you for that. Councilor Olson?
I don't have anything to add. It's the one thing to point out, the golf course with elections, I think might be the only board executive in town with 3 members in their 30s. So that was exciting.
So just for councils, just to keep them updated, so I did meet last week with Clark Crippen and Doug Spees from the Golf Club Board, talking about the loan forgiveness request. So they were working on their, I guess, proposal that they would be presenting to council in terms of the forgiveness request. Mayor Warwick has suggested to them that an info session B might be the best starting point for the discussion. So we've tentatively looked at the one in January, and they would come and present to council. They haven't changed their mind or their opinion. Their request will be to have the $68,000 forgiven. They're just working on the rationale that they want to present to council for that request. And have a good discussion that day in terms of they can put their points across, council can address if they've got any concerns, questions, have that discussion. I did inform them that we don't make any decisions that day, but following that discussion, we'd be prepared to bring it to probably the February council meeting, and then council can make a decision on how they want to move forward at that time. So they are still working on that, and we're looking now at the end of January. So.
Any questions for Councillor Olson? Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Stickle?
Nothing to propose or anything for me?
For now.
For now.
Let's get a full compliment. Everything's.
Yeah.
Any questions for Councillor Stickle? Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Jensen? Any
So
questions?
just do pray, guy. We really appreciate what Carly did.
She did a great job.
She did a great job, and it's like I said, that's the first time in my 8 years as CAO that we've had a budget presentation and a discussion about the budget and the library and our activities part of the budget. So very, very good, very well done.
I think she'll continue to do that. She's on her game.
Yeah, and I think I'm sure her presentation with special areas was done as well and as professional, and I think that will carry a lot of weight with the advisory board members. So
They seem to be pretty happy with things.
Good.
Hopefully.
good, thank you.
Any questions for Councillor Jensen? Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Gordon?
I've submitted mine late. Sorry, Rhonda. And it was just updating some upcoming meetings and that sort of thing. I don't know.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor Gordon? Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Dedlock?
I think it's not
Okay. Any questions for Councillor Dedlock?
Just December 4th, everything's going according to plan, as far as you know.
as far as I know.
Okay.
Or is that like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get some fireworks.
Okay.
And when I get fireworks from Boxley Park? Again?
Absolutely. For you, anything, Brass.
Okay.
For me, thank you. I screwed up. I'm not gonna be here for the second council meeting, or budget meeting. I'm. Property for my daughter, but I can
Zoom in.
probably zoom in. Yeah, no, Thursday. I probably can. Yeah. So that's okay. Councillor Jensen can have it. Deputy mayor comes now, and it'll be, it's. I will definitely do that, or have mine. I apologize. My mayor calendar and my regular calendar do not match together. So and I did, and that's not on Lori. Anyway, any questions for me other than just either ruining your day or making it better because I won't be able to. No. Okay, thank you. With that, is that the font that I actually sent? Okay.
Yes, it would be.
Really?
I don't.
Wow. How did that happen? That's not awesome. Anyway, I entertain a motion that council accepts the whatever it is. Councilor Olson, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to our correspondence items. I'm just going to kind of go through these. If you have any comments or questions, just stop me. I'll work up that previous one. 12.1 municipal affairs, municipal indicators results. 12.2 municipal affairs infrastructure funding.
So, Mr. Mayor, Mayor did draft a letter, and we sent the letter to the Minister of Municipal Affairs. I should have copied it and had it in the package. Just letting them know that there are rumors out there that MSI is gonna be eliminated. It will have serious impacts to the town of Hannah between the operating grant we get and the capital grant we get from them. That's in the neighborhood of $700,000 a year. So we did put a letter to the minister basically saying, we understand that there is a deficit and there is a challenge and we're prepared to do our part. But if you get to the point where you're going to do a significant cut to it, 50% or more, it's really going to create challenges for a municipality our size, let alone smaller municipalities. We also indicated as another political option is that they're looking at canceling that, yet in 21, we're asked to pay $50,000 towards policing. That will escalate to $150,000 by 2024. So, I know that something has to happen, but I'm just hoping that it's not done on the backs of municipalities. So we have responded, and I will include that. I will email that letter out to you guys, so you see what we responded with. So.
Price up what a wall costs.
Pardon me?
Price up and see what a wall costs. Build a wall around here.
Okay, well, thanks, Kim, for adding that. Yeah, 12.3, Ministry of Municipal Affairs assessment review. 12.4, Alberta Police Interim Advisory Court Board Report for fall 2020. That's good. Yeah.
I was just wondering, I see on the police report, there was some feedback that was requested by November 5th.
Yeah, I responded. Primarily, they were looking for feedback on how often we have communication with our detachment, what type of communication they share. It's interesting. I think we have Sergeant Spurley. He's very open. Comes to us. He's very approachable. But in a lot of areas, when they talk about that, a lot of municipalities say, well, we never hear from them. We don't ever have any conversations with them. So they are, I think, trying to gather to what extent everybody's at with their RCMP connection. And I think moving forward, especially with municipalities now being asked to provide funding, they are trying to set a protocol in place that it is mandatory that RCMP are communicating with their councils and providing them information and listening to them more than they have in the past. So I did respond to the council. Probably in the new year. We'll probably ask him to come in January, February. So.
12.5, Alberta Health Services Central Zone Contract for Limited Services. 12.6, MP Damien Kirk, response to town letter of gun control. 12.8, PLRD Prairie Line School Division newsletter. 12.9, Consulate General of Japan and Calgary October update. 12.10, Chamber of Commerce 2020 bidder and sword finalists, down in Hannah. And 12.11, Chamber of Commerce, thank you for the virtual 2020 virtual business awards. Now, comments, questions, then I would entertain a motion that council accept correspondence items 12.1 to 12.11 for information. Thank you, Councilor Bowden. All in favor? That is carried. And we have no matters for closed session. All right. Well, in that case, then I will declare all business complete. And this meeting adjourned at 7:32.